Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to Dream School. How are you doing tonight? Give me a wahoo. Thank you, Kim. Hey everybody, really happy to be with you. Tonight is going to be a work night, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Would love to hear, had an awesome opportunity to meet people from all over the world, learn about their dreams yesterday. It was a really great experience in which I learned that there's an Indian man who wants to own an African gray parrot. I learned that there's a man from China who wants to fly, learn to fly a plane. And what was just so cool about it is I learned that there are people from all over the world, and people all over the world have dreams just like you and me. And it's something that's universal about us, is that we have aspirations and hopes for something more. And I'm excited to spend some time with you tonight to help your dreams come true. So tonight, as always, one thing I'd love to start off with is if anyone has anything good, new, awesome happening in their lives or in their dreams, love to hear about them, because those inspire all of us to believe like we can do a little bit more. So if there's anyone that has anything great, you can type it in the chat. Whoa. Fox, you set a date to move. Love to hear that one. Maria's like, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I actually had a guy come up to me the other day, and he said, he was actually at this conference, he said, hey, Dan, I was going to joke with you, but now that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, all of my dreams have come true. So congratulations to any of you who are Eagle fans. It was a really fantastic game, especially congratulations to Maria. Any other big dreams happening, big things moving forward, things I should jot down in my ledger as we move forward? Kim, give us a little update. I'd love to hear it. I'm going to call on you, Kim, if that's okay. Hi, Kim.
Hi, how are you?
Really good. What's the update?
Well, I reached out to my contact at the Orange County affiliate of Susan G. Komen.
Remind everyone of the dream, because you
okay.
might have this conversation, but not everyone else is.
Right. When I was at Dream School Live, we kind of brainstormed a little bit and found out that with my history of volunteering with Susan G. Komen in Orange County, we found out that since I'll be moving to Ventura County, there isn't an affiliate there. So Dan suggested that I reach out to my contacts to find out why not. So I reached out to just a regular contact there, who then forwarded the email to the executive director of the Orange County affiliate, who wrote an awesome email to the corporate of Komen to find out if, I don't know what, she says that Ventura County is a white space. I don't know what that means, but not part of the LA County affiliate. So now it's, how can we make stuff happen there, or at least for me to be a resource for people in that area.
Got it. So at the end of the day, that area is in fact uncovered.
Right.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just waiting to hear back.
So just waiting to hear back.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Really, really cool. Congratulations, Kim. That's awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that's great news. Now, I think this was a great example of somebody who's just willing to go chase down a dream, even though it might have seemed a little scary at first. And one dream starts leading into the next and into the next. And that is where dreaming is really exciting. It's oftentimes not the first dream we accomplish, but the second or third or down the line, when things really start to move in our lives and we begin to enjoy a much different experience with our lives. Very exciting. Kim, congratulations on that. Any other great news besides Fox said, hey, listen, I've got an August 1st due date and I'm going to be moving by August 1st. We all are cheering for you and want to wish you a big congratulations on being committed to that and just getting digging in and kind of drawing a line in the sand. Hope all is well there. Anyone else? This is good. Awesome. You set your date to move to Texas. When is it, Michelle? Last week of June. Can't wait. This is fantastic. We have people moving all over the country. This is great. I should partner with a real estate agent. It's like Century 21. We could do great. It's fantastic. All right. Hey, listen, tonight, first I have a little bit of an announcement. The first announcement is we do have a winner from our contest in January. The winner is Jenny Galbraith. So she was the one who is the person who referred the most people to our Dream School program. I want to congratulate her and thank her. She'll see more emails coming through as time progresses. Beyond that, I don't know that I have any other news other than the fact that this Saturday, we will be having our usual office hours call. We will be having our usual office hours call at 10 a.m. Pacific on Thursday. But then on Saturday, we will be having office hours. I'm going to be in Pennsylvania. I'm going to be giving a TED Talk. We're going to be changing the world and teaching the world how to dream and why it's so important to dream. And so I'm very excited about my opportunity to be there and spend some time there. I'm sure, don't worry, we're going to get it out to everyone. And you're going to watch it and you're going to be inspired and then you're going to send it to all your friends. And the next thing I know, me and Will Smith are going to be hanging out. I've got it all worked out. It's going to be fantastic. All right. So that being said, I'm very excited to start off tonight. I want to start off tonight with a little bit of a story. I feel like I only have like 4 stories. So I apologize if I've heard this one, if I've shared this one before, but it's the one that's on my mind tonight. And it's the one that I want, you know, every week I sit around and I just kind of think about you, and I read through the Facebook feeds, and I try to get a very clear, I get a very clear kind of image of what I feel like you need every week. And so it's a customized course every week because sometimes I have some plans of what I think you're going to need, and other times I want to just pause and make sure I'm really being responsive to what I'm hearing in office hours and what I'm hearing in the Facebook group. And tonight's one of those nights. And so I want to share the story as a start. Years ago, I used to attend when I went to graduate school, I went to a very unique university in which they followed what they call the Oxford model. And the Oxford model really is all about, rather than a professor standing in the front of the room and teaching and lecturing the class, it's about a professor asking really insightful questions, and that professor then inciting conversation within the group. And so it was a kind of a unique situation for graduate school. It was the first day of class, and believe it or not, I love this school. And so I was excited. Everyone next to me in class was excited for class. We were like ready to go. In fact, the guy sitting next to me, he's got books piled up this high, a notebook out in front of him. I mean, he is like dialed in, and he's going to have an incredible experience in this class. And our professor stood up, and he taught probably one of the most powerful lessons that I've ever experienced. And it's the lesson that I want to teach you tonight. He stood up and he essentially said, listen, when we are, if we want to learn the most important lessons of life, it means we have to go chase down and challenge those things that are most difficult to learn. That the most significant learning we can make stands behind those doors that are sometimes hardest to open. And then he challenged us, and he said, listen, today's assignment is, it was a 2-hour class. He says, I'm going to end class early today. In fact, as soon as I finish my few remarks, we're going to let you go. And then he said, I want you to go find something for you that would be hard to learn. And I want you to spend the next 2 hours trying to learn it. And then he said, all right, class dismissed. And though I'm sure I'm not remembering that clearly, it was quite a few years ago, the lesson, to that degree, that was the lesson that we learned that day. And so one of the things that I'm learning about dreaming is a constant stepping forward towards the dream. Lao Tzu said that dreaming is, or that every journey, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, is what he said. And that is true of your dream as well. That the journey to your dream, no matter how far off it is, begins with a single step, begins with the next step, and then the next step after that. And as Kim shared, Kim's next step was, listen, my next step is to call this foundation, to reach out to my contact. And she did that. And that opened the doors, and she's waiting to hear back. And then there will be a next step and a next step and a next step. And oftentimes when we're pursuing dreams, by the nature of a dream, because it's something new or different, not a part of our former routine, the steps will always seem a bit dim. We won't have clear vision of how to get from one place to the next. Because of that, it requires that we're willing to take a small step into the dark until that step brightens up, and then another step and another step as we continue to progress. Because of that, the nature of dreaming requires our ability to take a step into the dark. Now, I don't, Kim says, I can't see the path yet, but I know that it's there. And that's exactly it, right? We know that it's there, even though we can't see the next step maybe as clearly as we need to, or the entire path. So at the end of the day, today my invitation to you is to take the next step, whatever that step is. And here's what I'm going to recommend to you is I'm going to give you a couple of bits of advice about how you can identify and recognize the next step. And then we're going to end class early tonight. And it's not so I have a night off. It's so that you can have some space in your life. Because if you blocked out an hour tonight, I'm going to give you about 20, 30 or 40 minutes where you can identify, write down, and begin on the next step, and to take the next step towards your dream. And oftentimes this is a step that we might be procrastinating or putting off or a little bit nervous about. But we're going to encourage you to just dive in and take that step tonight. Okay? So here's rule number one when it comes to taking the next step. The first rule of taking the next step is to identify the smallest step, not the biggest one. So what we want to do is we want to begin to whittle down maybe big projects into the tiniest little step. So for example, if I want to write a book, and I'm going, man, maybe I should start writing the first chapter. Maybe I should, I don't know where to begin. What might the first step be? What's the smallest step I can take to write my book? It's the smallest step. Let's say a step I could accomplish in 30 minutes. I could write the title. I like that, Wendy. I could buy some paper. Perfect, Janae. So you guys got the spirit of it, right? All right, tonight, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take 30 minutes and I'm just going to jot down some ideas. Tonight, I'm going to take 30 minutes. I don't have any paper to print on, or maybe I don't have a computer or a keyboard or a place to sit. I'm going to go find my chair that's going to be my writing chair. I'm going to take that step. Does that make sense? It's just one step. That's all we're going to concern ourselves with is the next step. That same mentor, I remember sitting in his office and he came up to me and he said, I went to him and I said, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I know I have big things in my future, but I don't know where to start. And I don't know where I'm headed or what the eventual outcome will be. And I was searching in my brain to see the end from the beginning. And he simply said, Dan, are you in the right place doing the right things right now? And my answer was, I really think I am. Now looking back on it, I know I was. And then he said, that's all sometimes you need to know. And I also thought that was really wise. Again, if we can just know what the next step is, that can be perfect. So Jamie, perfect. She said, my dream is to be able to go to graduate school, and my next step is to sign up for the study class for the GRE. Perfect, right? That's a perfect beginning to say, I know I can just go online, and that might even be too big of a step. All I'm going to do is register for that course, and that's my next step. And then Jamie's going to ask herself, all right, now that I've registered for the course, what's next? And in these small incremental steps, we begin to make progress. That progress turns into speed, and that speed turns into momentum. Until, as Kim said, it seems inevitable that these kinds of things will begin to happen for us. Okay, so rule number one is we want to identify the smallest step possible. Rule number two is there is always a step we can take right now. There's always a step we can take right now. So often we get in the game of waiting. So Jamie, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. Hopefully you're listening. Jamie said, I've already registered for my study class of the GRE. And therefore she might think, class isn't until next week. I can wait until then. But Jamie, really, if we're thinking about it, what is your next step? Oh, classes isn't in an hour. All right, never mind. You're all set. But even still, all right, this is even making the example better. Yeah, great. Maria says we can begin reading the text. I can get my notebook out and make sure my notebook's ready. We can do these small steps, and there's always a next step. And if you can't see the next step, sometimes, this is rule number 3, if you can't see the next step, sometimes you need to find help from someone standing outside that can help you identify what the next step might need to be. Because sometimes we can just get paralyzed by all half caffeine, says Jamie. Might be perfect next step. Because sometimes we can get paralyzed. So rule number 1 is take the smallest step possible. Rule number 2 is we want to identify there's always a next step. And rule number 3 is that we want to seek help from others if we're stuck, if we're paralyzed and we don't know which step to take. Because it seems like no matter what, even when I have problems where I get paralyzed, I get stuck in the process, if I can turn to my spouse and I can say, sweetheart, I'm feeling a little stuck. For whatever reason, that conversation, getting outside of myself and outside of my own mind, allows me a new perspective, and that new perspective sometimes can see the obvious step standing in front of me. Because it's often easier to see a step for someone else than it is to see a step for ourselves. And so that being the case, those are your 3 steps to getting started on your next step. Now, my invitation to you is not to, we're gonna end class a little early tonight. My invitation to you is not to go back and do whatever you're doing. It's not to say, oh, I'm gonna dive into my email. Your mandatory attendance until 8 o'clock, but the attendance, the work we're going to do is for you to take your next step, whatever that step might be. Next week, we'll have more content. Next week, I'll teach some cool stuff, but this week, the lesson is in the doing. This week, the lesson is in the doing. And so before you go, I want you to type in what your next step is in the chat box. And then if you don't know, well, you can stick around. We'll spend a few minutes making sure everyone knows what their next step is. So again, if you're in this class or if you're watching the recording, make sure you identify where your next step is. If you can't figure out what your next step is, reach out to me through Facebook, find me, and let's chat about it, making sure that you know what your next step will be. All right, so Maria said to reach out to you about the event in PA this weekend. Yes, fantastic. Please reach out. I expect to hear from you. If you want something you never had, you got to do something you've never done. Thank you, Mrs. Giant. I love it. Create a poster to a sales schedule for my customers. Beautiful, Gretchen. We're going to give you some time to do that. Wendy's asking questions. Okay, if you are in the question, so that being said, your assignment is to post. Have a great Zoom meeting tonight in 30 minutes. Perfect. Chris and Kristen, thank you. Study GRE vocabulary. Perfect. Jamie, thank you. Create a post about my Plexus business. Perfect. Kim, thank you. Sign into Match.com. Review profiles. Nancy, go for it. All right. So this is your assignment for tonight. So that being said, if you know what your assignment is and you feel confident about your next step, even the smallest one, Janae, I feel like go sell stuff is probably too big. If you know what your next step is, you have 30 minutes to complete your next step. So choose a step that's within the range of 30 minutes. And then later on, after you're finished, you can post in the group, you've accomplished your next step, and hopefully that will help us get going. Lainey, that's perfect. Take 30 minutes, clean out your pantry. That's what we're up to tonight. If you don't know what your next step is, stick around, and I'm gonna work through everyone through the process. We'll make sure everyone gets to the next step, but you guys are doing great. Awesome, ready, set, class dismissed. See you guys, thanks for being here.